Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful Rabbit Hole, Lore and Frey, and the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon, releasing June 10th, 2023. So, with Skye Bennet going out on a rampage, talking about what she thought of the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 ending, and kind of revealing some choice details regarding, the behind-the-scenes stuff and how much the voice actors were told, and how things like at the Xenoblade dubbing thing was behind the scenes. I think it's time to really take into consideration what this means for the franchise as a whole and perhaps all of Nintendo gaming. And I think this has been widely known in the anime community for some time, but I think this also extends to video games and any adaptation of Japanese media going forward. And that is the fact that the voice actors, the localizers, the people who are translating the game to the other language don't actually know anything about the characters. And I think in this case, this was very self-evident with Pyra and just her weird Skye Bennett's weird interpretation of events, her belief that Mithra was in love with Adam when that wasn't true, and just all this weird stuff that no actual fan would believe, right? It was just completely 100% just not in line with the actual creative vision of the actual creators. Voice actors are not creators. They have no idea what these characters are like. They don't know anything. They aren't told any special information about the characters, is what we're getting at. So what does that mean, right? What does that mean for gamers, and what does that mean for Xenoblade, right? What exactly are the deeper implications here, right? What exactly does it mean? The most prominent thing that I can think of, going into this, is that the voice actor who claimed that Juniper from Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was non-binary cannot be trusted. There is 100% no way that was true. Going by the varying translations and the situation, it was pretty obvious what happened, right? The localizers were given a character that was supposed to be androgynous, or there are characters like this in Japanese media, right, where you're not supposed to know whether it's a boy or a girl. And in this one, they ran with this idea that Juniper was non-binary, which I think is a concept that doesn't really suit her as a character, right? So it's not really a thing, honestly. So the idea was pushed forward by the voice actor and the localizers when there's not really any evidence in the script to really indicate that at all, right? It's just something that they tried to shove in there to push a political agenda, and it just doesn't really make any sense. It's just a political thing. It's just trying to push a narrative. It's not really indicative of the wider game of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which is generally pretty base and red-pilled in general. So, the fact is, when you get right down to it, there were two major indications that Juniper was non-binary, right? The claims from the voice actor, which we can now dismiss entirely, and two, the claim that Juniper is non-binary in the code, which isn't actually. I've seen no actual evidence for that. Everyone who screams about that, it's it seems like it's coming from a very, very unreliable source, right? That is 100% that is 100% something that I wouldn't take all that seriously, right? And even if it was true, I don't believe non-binaryism is a thing in general. So the question would be whether or not Juniper is a boy or a girl, right? And I'm leaning towards a girl, right? I think virtually everyone, even the people pushing the non-binary thing, is pushing girl. So believes that's a girl. So I don't think what exactly are you fighting for, really? Like, it's so weird. Like, whenever I, like, go on that, like, Juniper video where, like, Kite, like, starts simping for her, like, just how many people are so, like, religiously pushing this idea that Juniper is non-binary when, you know, the people who actually just think the scene is funny or like Juniper as a character or are just like, you know, stumbling on the video are all just like, oh, she this is actually pretty funny. Like Juniper is an interesting character. Like I like this female character. She her it's ridiculous to see the contrast, right? And I suppose it's a really good indication of just how hopeless the entire situation of normalizing like non-gendered language is going to be. Like especially in like Spanish and French, right, which are more gendered languages than English is. But you know, even we like have specific like male and feminine, masculine and feminine like you know, terminology and stuff like that. And there's just nothing about Juniper that I would call masculine, like whatsoever. Like she has short hair, like who cares? Like it just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make sense to anyone. Like not even the people who are like religiously pushing the idea, right? So, yeah, with that in mind, I do think we as Nintendo fans really need to start like pointing this kind of stuff out because Zelda has a lot of like Tears of the Kingdom. It does have a lot of they them pronouns, right? And it's shoved in like anywhere they can possibly shove it, right? Like whenever you have like a situation where you don't like see a character, or where you don't know what the fuck it is, like they try like using they them pronouns in like the most ridiculous ways possible. Like I just found like a Yiga clan journal and like some guy is like bitching about some recruit who stole a banana. And like he's just like, "Oh, they this recruit, the individual, they stole a banana." Like it's so like contrived and it's not something that like would have happened like even 5 years ago. Even Breath of the Wild didn't have any of this shit, right? It seems to be a very recent phenomenon, and I just hope that eventually there's enough of a backlash towards it where they have to like cut it out. And I imagine like what's gonna happen like realistically is that like people who are more competent, who aren't like you know pushing an agenda, start getting a hold of it. It feels like flavor text usually. Like whenever this stuff gets squeezed in, it's always like it's always like text only. It's always like in a journal or something. It's always like through some random dialogue for some character. Like it's everywhere, but it just feels like okay, like whoever's like pushing this needs to be fired for sure, for sure. And um, hopefully we have like hopefully there's some real pushback to this going forward because I am absolutely sick of seeing it.